Maybe we'll get some traction here. Maybe we won't. I don't know if you got buddies you're texting or whatnot.
Yeah,
I'm
I could forward this out real quick.
I'm gonna send some stuff off on TikTok. Just because I don't know what else to do at this point. I mean, that kind of hit us right in the whatever you want to call it. And I don't know why it wasn't working on TikTok like it was. Well, I don't know why I couldn't hear you. I don't know if it was something to do with, like, I see you there, but I couldn't hear you at all. So
I got you. Let me share this out real quick. I
yeah,
think
go
it's
for
going
it,
to
man.
cut my
Go for it.
video out.
Go for it.
In and out and in and out.
Yeah. Let's see if we make a post. Maybe it'll. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Let's do this. Let me do this. Yeah, while you're doing your thing over there, I'm gonna go back to TikTok live, I guess, and tell everybody to come over there.
Okay, officially.
Do what?
I said I'm done. We're good.
There you go. I'm sorry. I'm over here hitting the wrong buttons, man. All
Oh,
right,
it's
there
all
we
good,
go.
man.
We are here, folks. We are absolutely here. What's going on? I'm trying to let everybody know on all the other platforms that we're here. But who knows? Who knows what I can do there?
So what happened, guys, was my rookie behind doesn't have a Facebook account that's 60 days old, and I don't have enough followers on TikTok. So there's that.
Yeah, the TikTok thing was my fault. I thought we could go live with it.
I just assumed I could.
Well, I
I
thought
thought it
if
was
you had a
America.
host, it didn't matter, but I was ultimately I was wrong. So that's that's not a that's not a first. I mean, I've been wrong a lot. I've been
It's
wrong a
okay,
lot.
man. We're
Yeah,
fishermen. We ain't right a lot.
yeah. I just still that sucked. All right.
What's up, Austin?
I don't know what that is playing. Something's playing. Oh, I got TikTok on the screen pulled up. I was wondering who was talking. It was somebody on the screen talking. Now my speakers are wanting to work,
Right on.
which is weird. I'm trying to get all this stuff set back up where we're at. But you go ahead, man. We're like I said, we're getting started with everything. Sorry, y'all. We kind of goofed up on the whole TikTok deal, but I got Big Bait John in here. We're talking big baits for beginners. Guys, if y'all got any questions, a lot of you guys in here know John. Y'all know what he's capable of. We had him on the show last Thursday, and man, it was one of those things. Seeing what you brought to the table, I told you, man, you're an expert with it. I know you said, "Hey, I'm not an expert by any means." I'm like, dude, what you brought to the table that day, if folks really could have saw, yeah, I mean, if folks could have saw it that night, walked in there with bags, briefcases, duffel bags, all that different stuff. It was really impressive to see, just seeing the stuff you bring to the table for big bass. And I saw it was this is kind of impromptu. I saw today that you wanted to do some lives. I was like, hey man, if you can't host them, I can host some lives. Thinking that I could host some lives and you could get in here and do your thing. We get your TikTok pumped up. So we're gonna have to figure out a different way to do that. And I think I'm gonna work on that with my StreamYard stuff. And I get that once I get StreamYard set up, if I can get it set up the right way, we can turn it into a deal. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yes, sir. Sounds good, man. I'm
well,
excited.
we just got to get it. We just got to get off started. I'm sorry, I'm still adjusting crap. So I'm trying to get it maybe where I can stream to TikTok and talk to them too if they got any questions. I don't know if that'll work or not, but because you never know who
Right
you
on.
might get. You never know who. I'll be honest with you. As much as I like TikTok and I don't mind TikTok at all. It kind of becomes a pain in the butt because it limits what you can do really. Where YouTube you can actually get on there and do some things. You know what I'm saying? So this may actually
Yeah.
be this may actually be a beneficial thing for both of us here, getting you on YouTube and getting you going that way. But you've got a channel on YouTube as well?
Yes, sir. It's BigBaitJon.
That's what I thought. I'm sure I probably follow you. I can't remember. I'm looking now. Yeah, I've got you in the search engine anyway. Sometimes that stuff's hard to find for whatever reason.
It
But
is, and it's a small account.
yeah, I know it. I think I looked for you the other day on here, and I couldn't remember where it was at. But we'll figure it out later. I'll figure it out later for sure. But so all right, man. Best laid plans go to hell. You know what I'm saying? So we got
Always, man,
yeah.
always.
We yeah, Coleman, we're on the live. Yeah, we appreciate appreciate you liking the live, man. I mean, we so now I've kind of gotten to start all over again. I had some questions lined up, thinking about what I was going to ask you and everything like that. So real quick, we probably talked about it during the show, but when I'm sitting back there behind the boards, running the boards, I don't get a chance to really talk as much as I want to. As far as not talk, I get to talk plenty, but I don't get to really get into the your story. How did you get into fishing with big baits?
Um, I've always been like a abnormal person, I guess. Growing up, my
Yeah,
mom was a big bass fisher along with my dad. My dad's a freaking hammer, but dude, my mom will hurt your feelings fast.
really.
Yeah, she throws a big old power bait. She calls them stinky worms, but they're 12-inch worms.
Yeah,
But she don't catch a lot of fish, man. But when she does, it's over 3 to 5 pounds. She's a hammer. Well,
yeah,
growing up, I always just my dad throws, finesse baits pretty much regularly and a lot of Texas rigs and small worms and stuff.
right.
And I get tired of dragging a worm, dude. But
I hear
I
that.
seen I seen Milliken post a video almost 6 years ago now, 5 years ago probably.
Right.
And he it wasn't so much the big bait thing
Yeah.
per se, it was so much just the confidence that he had in what he was doing. And I was like, man, I'm not a terrible fisherman. I could go throw one of these big old baits. And
Right.
then they came out with the draw, and I was kind of hesitant on spending $75. So I bought a little flow glider and did his little chop video where he
Oh yeah.
shaves it down on the inside.
Right.
And I went out and I caught a fish on it. So I was like, well, I'm sold. So I bought this monster. It's the 9-inch. And I fished it for 8 months until I caught another fish, like a real glide bait fish. You know what I mean? Like a
Right.
2 pounder doesn't count, in my
Yeah.
opinion. And it's not that it doesn't count. That's not what you're doing with it. But
That's
the
right.
fact that it produced was like, okay, that's freaking sweet. I got a little different profile to throw at something. Maybe, we could convince them.
Yeah.
Dude, I fished this thing for like 8 months, this big draw. And I, everybody was laughing at me because when it hits the water, it's like a cannonball going in the water, dude.
Yeah.
And it looked so real though. And finally, one day I got hung up on a tree. I was with my buddy John, and we rolled up into the shallows to get it. Dude, there was a wolf pack of like 4 to 6 pound largemouths just waiting for it to come out of the tree.
Right.
So I stuck my rod in there because, throwing these 8 foot sticks, you can reach out and touch something. So I got my bait loose, and I turned around. I just whipped it where the direction of the wolf pack was going. Dude, 7 pounder. I was sold immediately. Immediately. You hear me? Yeah, sorry. No, it's all good. The coal shed. Me personally, if you're new into swim baits, your standard shelf baits ain't bad. Um, Me personally, I think there's a better way you can do it. Most of your free rigs, like I like the 6 cents whale. It's very easy. I mean, that's like I think it's a 6 EWG on the swim bait head. I
Yeah.
fish that pretty regularly.
Now,
Or go ahead.
why? I'm going to expound on what you just said. You think you can do different with it, and I'm asking because I don't know better. I don't know any better. So what exactly does that mean?
You can rig it multiple ways.
There you go.
So
Okay, that makes sense. Yes, that makes sense.
you could run it weedless, or like this is a cheap bait. This is US bait co's or custom bait co's. This
Yep.
bait's only like $8, dude, and this is like the most durable plastic ever. Like you could beat somebody with this thing, throw it at a
Right.
chainsaw while it's live, and this thing's gonna look the same. It's wild
Right.
for being like $8 to $12. But you could freestyle them. You could run them. This head, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a hole on the tip. You can run it
Yep.
like a line through and
Yep.
put your trebles in the back.
Okay. That,
I just like the versatility
that's what I
versus.
was going for. That's what I was wanting to hear is the versatility. That makes more sense. Well, not more sense. It clarifies it for me a little bit more.
Well, I don't like having one option. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's why in the swim bait world, like I try to be very particular with the baits that I buy, especially knowing the waters that I fish.
Yep.
You got to be precise, man, and everything counts, especially when you're throwing these bigger baits, like 6-inch baits. Yeah, okay, that's a big bait for most people, but it's not a
Right.
big bait, dude. Like
Right.
uh, that 11-inch trick shad I have, it's on my rod, and I break my tip swinging it in here. But like you throw something like this flow glider compared, like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
The front joint on this thing is almost as big as this bait.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So you got to be, everything has to be perfect, especially when you go to tuning these baits. A lot of people will go to shave out the insides, like Milliken said, and then they'll ruin it and they don't realize what they're doing. It's like
Yeah.
you have to do everything precisely. Your cast, your color. I think depending on your day, how active the fish are, because if they're just chewing, you whip anything in front of them that looks like a fish, man, they're gonna eat it.
Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. So to go with what you said a minute ago with Jim's question about where you stand on coal shad. So I was doing a live pre-spawn of TikTok, and a guy in the live was like, "Hey man, you need to throw a swim bait." I'm like, "I'm good." I had a trick shad, and I tied it on first, and man, I threw it a couple of times. I was like, "I just ain't feeling it, man." He's like, "What else you got in the box?" I opened up the box. I showed him what I had. He picked it out. He was like, "Throw this one," and it's just it's your standard. This one's beat the heck all standard coal shad. He goes, "Throw that one." First fish, 524. I mean, literally
Beautiful.
first cast. For
That's
I had
beautiful.
never caught a fish on it before in my entire life. And well, I take that back. I had caught a catfish on it, right? Um, in the same area, believe it or not, but it was a little different, But anyway, he said throw that first cast 524, and I'd already caught. That was the day I had already caught a 648 on a chatterbait on a Brazalo strutter, not maybe an hour or two before that. I ended up like 18 or 19 pounds and three fish, something like four fish, whatever. It was a crazy day. But anyway, yeah. So after that point, man, I'm like, the coal shed had me bit. You know what I'm saying for the bigger swim baits because I had never caught anything on a bigger swim bait at that point. So for me, it
Right
was
on.
and then we're only talking this year. So I have them. I mean, I got 2 boxes of crap over here. With me that I've already got, but now it's the big swim baits are my thing as far as the plastic ones, soft ones go. But I want to get into the hard glide baits, and that's where I kind of nerding out when you were there in the show the other day, and then obviously seeing you wanting to get on here and do some lives and stuff. I'm like, heck yeah, we can do that, man. We'll make that happen. But so keep going with what you were talking about. If there's any more to expound on with that, because I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just kind of like that I understand where you're coming from because so I know I just told you to keep going, but so for me, my problem was this belly weighted or not
Yeah.
belly weighted, but belly hooks. Um, because where at the lake I fish at, it's not full of crap, but at the same time, those fish were wanting it on the bottom. Like I'd have to walk it on the bottom. So I'm digging these hooks in the bottom, keeping it down. I put a little nail weight in the belly of it, stuff like that. And I kept thinking, man, there's got to be something else that I can do. Why would I need, why would I want to keep doing that? So then I picked up kind of like you're talking about with the Spro deal. But I got the BigBaitJon, which is still it's still a bottom hook. But then Farmer taught me into buying these, which is the Z-Man Shadtron.
Yeah.
And it's got that top weight, and you can add a stinger on the bottom if you want to. But anyway, so I kind of understand what you meant by that when you said the versatility, because that's exactly my thought was. I'm dragging this thing through the mud, and all I'm doing is getting a bunch of crap on it, So
Absolutely, man.
That's where I'm
and
at.
I don't really go crazy on the soft plastics so much
Right.
because I mean they're really only down there. The fish that I have found in the last year and a half, 2 years, dude, I'm telling you, they are not that deep. Like
Right.
people are overestimating like this whole yeah, there's days, man, where I'm fishing in 80 feet of water. And I
Yeah.
have lost a lot of swim baits in deep water, which we'll talk about that another time. But
Hey, I understand.
dude, you have got people overestimate a big fish, right?
Yeah.
So every time somebody catches a big fish, they're always like, well, that fish shouldn't have been there. There's no way. Well, how do you know? You're not that smart fish that has been ducking everybody for the last 10, 15 years.
Yep.
That fish is chilling in the same stump, doing the same thing that it's always done because it knows better. So you
Yep.
got to give them that. That's why I believe the swim bait thing is like that big of a deal because it's just continuously proving over and over you can commit these fish to eat if you give them what they want.
I'm convinced of this, and I know you'll probably agree with me because I think we're on the same page with this. I think Ron Swinford said on last night's show, these fish have seen the same shaky head 250 times in a day.
In a day.
And they're thrown in the same spots that everybody goes, that fish should be sitting right there. Now, don't get me wrong, I've caught a bunch of fish that should have been sitting right there. I've caught a ton of fish but typically, not always, but there's a few of them that I've caught bigger fish that they were sitting. I'm going, didn't expect that. Didn't expect that because that wasn't where I thought that big fish would have been sitting, whether it be out in the open or on a piece of crap floating out in the water somewhere.
Right.
I'm like, I had a spot last year that I caught like 3 5s off of 2 in one day, and it was a floating Christmas tree that had just washed in, and it floated off by the end of summer. It had floated away because of the boat traffic. But it was a weird spot. It's a hard spot anyway. But yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. I think that we're throwing the same crap in the same places and expecting better results. And don't get me wrong, you're gonna happen up on them, but you're gonna have the those bigger bait. I think those bigger baits are. I'm all for throwing something different now. I mean, it's just for me. That's what's in my mind. It's like, all right, they're seeing the same guy up and down the bank throwing the same crap, and I can see it with some of the baits that I use. Like I know there's certain time that I can throw a shaky head, and I've got a window, and I'll catch the crap out of them, and I can almost tell you to the day when it shuts off. Like I can almost tell you to the day. All right, don't they're not going to bite it no more. You know what I'm saying? And it's happened. It's already over for me. But they'll bite that glide bait. So, I mean, that one video I posted yesterday, that's a couple of weeks ago, but that kind of day right there, they'll bite the shaky head first thing in the morning, and then the rest of the day they won't touch it. So,
And I'm not opposed to fishing conventional, man. It's just there's so much that goes on all the time, and there's so many arguments, and it's like nobody's really throwing big baits around here. So I'm in my own little world doing my own thing, not being bothered, dude.
right.
And and it's not like I don't like being bothered because I don't mind it at all, man. I'll talk to anybody. I'll give everybody help if they need it. But
Right.
dude, there is something special that these baits produce. Like, dude, Buka brand is, I'm pretty sure they're still the number one producer of double digits every year on their baits.
Really.
Like, at least as far as swim baits go and glide baits, like, you can't beat that, dude.
Right.
Like, I have abused this thing, dude. Abused this first trick shad I got. I have repainted it over like 4 times just to try to hide the hook rash and stuff on it, man. And you just You can't beat it. Whereas other baits cost twice as much and they snap in half when you touch them.
Right. So Mason
Mason,
said, John's been pushing me to throw big baits, but I have a hard time putting the jig down. Dude, and I'm a jig guy. I am a jig guy, but there's
dude, I got
something.
a new jig set up that I'm waiting to try out. I am so freaking pumped. I don't want to disclose any information because I don't want to look like an idiot if it doesn't work. But if it works,
Yeah.
dude, I'll send you pictures
Okay.
immediately.
Heck
But it
yeah.
involves a whale and a swim jig. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Uh-oh. So then Coleman says it has a pond where he caught 34 pounds out of it, and he wants to get a glide just for the video and content, but he's scared to put it on the internet. I'm gonna tell you, man, putting
Dude,
stuff on the internet will get you a bunch of haters. I've already got them, and I don't care. But I've had people call me out or try to call me out for burning spots, and I'm like, dude, if you didn't know about this spot, I had to tell one guy the spot was only in his head because I live here, and I know I figured it out. It didn't take me. I bought the boat, and then within a month, I figured it out. I mean, it didn't take much. So
right on.
if you're scared for people to see it, you better take some creative pictures. Is all I can say, or creative video.
Man,
Because
I'm not. I'll give everybody the juice. I just don't want to put them in the wrong situation. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
That's my
I mean,
biggest.
that's what I mean. That we talked earlier, and I was doing a lot of lives, fishing lives, and I enjoyed it. It got to be a production, but then you start worrying about, can I keep this up? Because I mean, I was going out there catching sixes and fives and fours. It's like, oh, this is great right now, but I know what's fixing to happen come June. Them fish ain't gonna bite like that no more, and they're gonna have to watch me for 3 hours with a shaky head, trying to figure something out just because it's the type of lake it is. But yeah, I mean, I don't hide nothing. I think I've put a I've blurred a background on one video because we were fishing the tournament the next week, and I didn't want people to go out there and burn me, burn that spot, which didn't help us none because the spot was dead anyway. But um, it is what it is. But yeah. So man, I had some good questions lined up too, dude. I'm gonna ask this question. And I got up here messing with this crap, dude. I got home at 5. Well, I got home at 4:30. Set everything up. I had it all. I was like, okay, we're good to go, And then got up here. And I was like, what the heck with that stuff? But it happens that way. It happens that way. So, all right, I'm gonna call myself a beginner, and there's a reason why I'm saying I'm a beginner because I am a beginner. But number one, I don't want to say it's definitely not my first glide bait that I bought. And I'm gonna start it off a little bit, and I'm gonna let you get into it more. I just want to kind of give a backstory to why I'm so interested in you and what you're doing, because I'm like you. I figured they want this stuff. Well, then I go get it, right. So my first glide bait that I'm aware of now, other than some multi-jointed stuff that I picked up from Academy when I bought the boat that was really cheap, and I probably threw it like once or twice. The Chad. That's my
Right on,
first.
dude.
That's the first one I got because of the Spro sponsorship through Fish North Georgia. So I got that one. I said, "Hey, order me a chat. I'm throwing a dang glide." I chunked this thing around and didn't lose confidence. I actually picked up confidence from it, taking it to another lake, Wedowee, which is a deep, clear lake,
Hmm.
and I saw some spots on forward facing. Threw it out there, and every one of them spots followed back to the boat. Every one of them. And we're talking probably, you know, 12, 14-inch spots. It wasn't like they was big ones, but they followed it. And I went, something clicked in my head, and I said, if they're willing to follow that right there, which
They'll
is
eat
what,
it.
6-inch bait, 7-inch bait, whatever it is.
Yeah, something like that.
So there's something to this swim bait thing, glide bait deal, if they'll follow that, because I knew something would happen. So then, me being me, typical guy, so I saw Georgia Bassmaster catch one using the TikTok glide, the PB glide bait. So I went and bought one. Of
Yeah, dude, I
course,
seen that.
it's stark white, man. It's like fresh off the press plastic white. I mean, it don't this light the lighting I've got up set for the studio doesn't even give it justice. It's bright white. I threw it a few times. I was like, I want my stuff to look sort of realistic. But anyway, so then I got
I got you.
um then I got the trick shads, the ABS trick shads from the Noe show up there. and got that first bite, which now, has got me really locked in with it. But then I got another TikTok glide bait, which is the video I showed on TikTok where it pulled off, and again, saw him on forward facing, threw past him and worked it down a seawall, and he absolutely hammered it. He had it hooked better than the trick shad, but these are crap hooks, and of course I was playing it for the camera a little bit more than I probably should have. But anyway,
Yeah, I don't play with them, dude. I do
well,
not play with them.
well, I'm bad about not pulling the net out because I'm like, oh, I can get them landed without a net. I can do that. You go reach down there and you got a 6-inch, 7-inch bait that's got number one hooks in it, and you catch one of them in the hand, you ain't worrying about the fish no more. So I'm gonna have to pull the net back out when I'm throwing the glide baits for sure. But the reason I brought those baits out is I want you to give us a rundown on beginner setup, bait, rod, reel, line, and what. Kind of walk us through the whole process, and I'm gonna quit talking for a minute because I feel like I'm talking more than I should be. But I want you to run us down on the setup for that for a beginner. Like if I didn't own any of this stuff and you were taking me out tomorrow to go, hey, we're gonna go catch you a first fish on a glide bait. Here's what we're gonna do, and I want you to kind of run us down for us.
All right, so the first thing with glide baits, man, and big bait fishing in general, because it's not just glide baits. There's a realm of big baits, wake baits, crank downs, line throughs, wedge tails. There's so many different big types. I always stick to the ABCs, man. Always be cool. Boyd Crowder said it best, man, and justified. Always be cool, because eventually, somehow, somewhere, something in this is going to cost you more than what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I always tell people, like uh, John Allred always brings up a good point. He fishes from a kayak, so you don't want to buy necessarily the biggest rod you can or the heaviest rod you can, because your handle is going to be 4 feet long and he's not going to be able to swing that thing in his kayak. Versus guys like us on a boat, it don't matter.
Right.
We're swinging for the high heavens and giving it the beans. Um, you can go cheap. I'm a big fan of the Daiwa DXSB. It's an 8-foot rod. They've got 3 styles. I only have 2 of them. I've got the lighter one, which is a 1 to 6 ounce, and then I've got the big one, which is 4 to 10 ounces, which I know you guys are probably thinking, like, what the hell is he throwing? I got an 11-inch trick shad. That baby weighs 8 ounces. It's heavy.
Hey, and it makes a difference, man. I mean, it makes a difference. I mean, I got that Chad shed. I'm holding it. So I got the other. I take that back. The Chad shed. Well, the Chad shed was my first, and that's not really that heavy. What is a Chad shed?
It's like 2.5
I
ounces,
put
3
2.5
ounces.
ounces. It don't feel heavy in the hand, but you put that on the end of a cheap rod, a short 7-foot rod like I had at the time, and I went to go heft it. And I went, I might be in the wrong ballpark with this thing. I mean, it's not that big of a bait. It don't look like it, but it is. It does add some weight to it. So
The next big thing is going to definitely be your line. You're definitely going to want some stronger line. Like some of my 6 inches that weigh around an ounce, I'll sneak around the pond behind my house with 15-pound P line.
yeah,
But dude, I don't take chances. I got 20-pound P line till I die.
right.
There's right here in front of me.
Yep. Yep.
And then I use the 4 clear.
Okay.
I don't play, man. Double San Diego jam all my big baits if it's over an ounce, and depending on the smaller one and the price, I'll double San Diego jam it too.
Right.
And then the reels, I'm 50-50 with my reels because I'm bad on equipment.
Right.
So I'll recommend probably the Abu Garcia Maxes. They're white.
Yeah.
You can get them pretty much anywhere.
Oh yeah.
And then the Lose Speed School, just a standard reel, the black and gold one they sell everywhere. It's like $80. They
Yep.
have got good drag, man. They hold that 20-pound line fine, and I've never had a problem fighting a fish on them.
Yep. I use the Daiwas. I'm on the cheap side. I'm using the CC80s, the CR80s, whatever they're called. They're cheap. I mean,
I
70.
love the CC80, dude. That's
Yeah,
a good reel.
they're one's like 59 and one's 79 or something like that. I go in between those two, and man, they're workhorses. So I haven't had a problem, like you said. I mean, I hadn't had a problem with none of them. Either one,
I
either one.
appreciate it, man. They're meant to catch fish, and that's what we're doing.
Now,
The
on those
biggest
rods you're
thing
talking
is
about, what's your price point on those rods?
the Daiwa DXSBs. All three of them are $100.
Man, you can't beat that.
You
Can't
can't,
beat
man.
that.
Not for that kind of broomstick.
No. And
I mean, I've only broke one.
where are you finding them at?
Tackle Warehouse.
Okay. I need to
Yeah.
write that down. I need to write that
Um,
down.
the next step up from that, and it's not just because of Milliken, but that 6 cents MFer rod, that swim bait rod he has, dude, for
Yep.
$140.
Yep.
I throw a 9-inch trick shad on that thing, dude, and you can't tell it's there. It's like
Really.
throwing a freaking beetle spin, dude. There's something about that rod that is just money
And you
for
said it's like
throwing big
120 bucks, 140 bucks?
140, I think.
Man.
Which they're having a sale right now, so you probably get a good deal on it.
Yeah.
But everything else is a St. Croix, man. I love the
Really.
victory rods.
I've never used a St. Croix. Never even tried them.
I'll let you throw them.
Yeah. I hadn't. I've never tried any of them. I just, like I said, I'm getting back into fishing 3 or 4 years ago and trying to get my arsenal built up. I bought a bunch of cheaper stuff, and I, the stuff I bought was quality. It's just on the cheaper side. I hadn't gotten into St. Croix, um, any of that stuff just yet, but eventually one day I will.
I
Eventually one
just
day I'm sure I will.
My first one, I sacked up and got the 710 extra heavy. It's 3 to 8 ounces. It's a St. Croix Victory. That was
Yeah.
my first swim bait rod, and I still have it, man. I love that rod. I actually have two of them. I would have four, but science and gravity broke them.
Yeah. it claims some it claims some what's up, Big Bass Braden? What's going on? It claims some victims, huh?
Yeah, my
It
dad
tends to do that.
supposedly took them in half.
Dang. It tends to do that some.
It happens, man.
So we've got the rod reel line, all right, well, before we go much further, how long of a rod for a beginner? Because that was my big thing when I bought mine. So my boat is a 91 Ranger. It don't hold but a 7 foot rod in a rod locker. You ain't getting a 7-1. Well, you might squeeze a 7-1 in there. So I
They
had
don't
bought a
go in the rod
7-4.
lockers, man.
Do what now?
They don't go in the rod lockers.
No, I figured that out. So I found a Dobbins at my local tackle shop out in Alabama, and it was 7'9", and everybody was telling me, "Dude, you're not going to get a 7 foot. This is going to be decent for throwing. You can get one that'll throw it, but it's not going to be what you want." So I bought that 7. It was only like 120, 130 bucks. It wasn't bad, but it rides on the deck of the boat, obviously, because it don't fit in a rod locker at all. So anyway,
Um,
what do you recommend starting outside lengthwise?
so in reality, 9 times out of 10 with these swim baits, and it just depends on the person, I guess. But I'm always just gonna recommend that Daiwa DXSB, the 8 footer, the 1 to 6 ounce, the small one. Dude,
Yeah,
that rod is a beauty. You can throw almost everything on it.
I was gonna say, yeah, that span you could throw just about anything you're gonna get started with for a while.
Well, I like it, dude, because it's stiff enough to throw a single hook swim bait and drive. Where is it at? It'll drive one of these big hooks home, dude.
Yeah,
Versus, and I can also I can throw this DRT Clash on it,
yep,
which I think it weighs around 4 ounces, maybe five, maybe less. I could be wrong. I work this thing like a jerk bait, dude.
dude, I'm telling you,
This is a,
that was the best advice I ever heard Austin say.
I'm telling you, that
Is
dude was so completely right about
all
that.
it all it is a big jerk bait. And once I realized that, I was like, okay, I like a jerk bait. I'll throw a jerk bait all day. So
If
it
you guys
made
don't know who we're talking about, that's Frost and Austin.
yep,
Austin
Austin
Marion.
Mary. Yep. He
Good guy, man.
he I commented on one of his videos because when I started watching, I'm looking at all of them like Milliken, stuff like that. But I had Austin being from around Georgia and kind of speaking my language with the area, started watching his stuff, and more of it. I guess since he's changed the name of the channel this last time, watching it then. Anyway, I had commented on some videos. He goes, "Yeah, I got some more stuff coming." So I went and found a whole bunch of his stuff to watch. But like I said, I don't remember what video it was, but he was like, "It's just a jerk bait. That's all it is a jerk bait under." I'm like, okay, that was a little bit that was a light bulb moment for me for the big bait stuff was hearing that, and it made a huge difference.
And they are, man. That's what I tell people, and we'll probably get into this a little bit. The parallels, man. You got to be able to draw your parallels with these big baits. You can't just, you know, you don't just buy a giant bait, tie it on, and just start reeling it. Like that's not how half of these baits work, man. Like, yeah,
Right.
they work like that, but that's not how they work.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. I mean, that's 100% right. And I think the first time I ever threw anything that remotely could be called a jerk or a glide bait, multi-segmented deal, whatever it was, I didn't know any. I was just reeling it back. I had no clue what I was doing, no clue. I mean, a guy said they were killing at West Point on them. I'm like, okay, I bought one, and yeah, I didn't have any luck with it because I didn't know what I was doing with it. But of course, it was a segmented bait, so realistically, you do just reel it back in, I guess. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but the whole pausing it and working it and treating it like a jerk bait, I had no clue with that.
I got you.
Jim, what he's talking about parallels, he's talking about taking something that you would normally fish, like and I'm just using it for an example, a jerk bait, and you fish a glide bait similar. You throw it in similar situations, you fish it similarly. Yeah. You fish it the same way you would. Don't overthink the glide bait because of what it is. Think of it like you're gonna throw a shaky head into a brush pile. Well, you'll throw that glide bait not into the brush pile, but kind of in the same situation, and you're just easing it through there, kind of deal. Hang on one second. I'm gonna turn this. Go ahead and talk about parallels. I gotta turn this air conditioning unit off. It's gonna start making a lot of noise for now.
So basically, like in the pre-spawn, when you fish a jerk bait, right? You're burning it. Twitch, twitch, pause, twitch, pause, twitch, twitch, pause, twitch, pause. You're doing the same thing with these, man, except you're just womp, 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 womp. It's the same action. It's just, it looks like a fish versus a stick.
Right.
And I got nothing against jerk baits, dude, because you just throw a jerk bait and get on a good jerk bait bite, man. That's so freaking fun.
Jim, you like to fish the swim jig. Think of it the same way as a swim jig. You're working it through an area, you're just twitching the rod, you're getting it to do different things. It's kind of the same. Yeah. I mean,
This
if you
soft
think of
body
it,
right here is your parallel to a swim jig, man. This is the same thing.
yep.
I mean, I added a hook to it, but that's because I suck at swinging on fish.
Oh man. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I think we're gonna do the whole weekly, and we're gonna have to talking weekly about big baits and stuff. Maybe we're gonna have to figure out some different stuff with that to make it interesting for everybody. But we're gonna make it work, even if I've got to drive up there and us do all live on the water while we're fishing, kind of deal. Something we'll figure something out.
Dude, we should do that, and then our number one guest should get to go with us.
Yeah,
Just to
we'll
prove
figure
we're
something
not
like that out.
BSing. That'd be
Hey,
cool, man.
I'm closing in on 1,000 followers on YouTube. We could work something like that out because I'm trying to come up with a whole giveaway, whatever with that stuff. So if I can figure that out, we can do something like that. Jim's like
I'll,
me.
I'll hook
I mean,
somebody up with a glide bait.
yeah. I mean, we're going to have to keep that. We'll come up with something. We'll come up with something for sure. Because put me in the boat, dude. I'm telling you right now, I want to go with somebody because at this point, I don't think I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. I have not been on the boat with anybody that throws a glide.
Well,
So everything I've done, I've learned off of YouTube or talking with people like you and putting it into action from just hearing what they're saying and kind of understanding the videos and stuff. So
dude, it's a great time, man. I mean, you definitely got to get strong, or it will make you stronger as a person throwing glide baits. But man, it is just you get to watch a shark eat, dude. Every time I see a bass eat a glide bait, especially when you're working that thing, dude, just crank it through the water, chop, 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 chop. And all of a sudden you just see a mouth. Dude, it don't get no better than that, man. It
hey,
don't.
I mean, and we'll talk about another parallel, top waters. top
Ooh,
waters and glide baits. I mean, you got your waking styles. You got, I mean, that same principle where you can move it through the water. Yeah.
look at that. If you don't throw a rat, I'm sorry, guys, you're wrong. I don't usually tell people they're wrong, but there is something about a giant frickin' rat, and it's a combat rat. It's a little bit more budget friendly. It's only $50, but I
Yeah.
mean, you guys got to think this thing is. I'm not a big guy, but that's pretty damn long.
That's a pretty big rat. I don't
But
own a
dude,
rat.
they will eat, man, and they're instinctual feeders. They don't, you put a fish in front of them, a rat in front of them, a frog, a duck, whatever, man, they're gonna eat it. I'm
I
just a big
mean,
believer in it.
you know, this goes back to our talk over the last couple of FNGO shows about the spoons. And I'm like, I still can't get the spoon figured out. You know what I mean? And it's the same. I
Yeah.
mean, but what I'm saying is, we know they eat them. It's a big old piece of metal, a
Oh,
big
yeah.
old piece of flashy metal. I mean, it's like throwing a hubcap. I mean,
It
if
is,
they'll eat
man.
that, they'll eat a glide bait. It's the same principle.
It is.
Same except for the glide bait looks at least a little more real, at least as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it don't look like a big piece of, it don't look like a piece of car fell in the water, but
Oh, yeah.
that
It sounds like
that's
it, though.
yeah. I mean, and that's why I get aggravated with the dang flutter spoon. I'm like, well, dang. I mean, I know they'll eat it. I know they'll attack it. I just got to figure out the right way to throw it in the right spot to do it, I guess. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with that. But so we got rods, we got reels, we got line. What do we talk? All right, that's where we're going next. Starter baits. If I don't know, I don't think we said anything about that. If I'm going to go buy one today, put me on the best. Here's what you need to go get if you're wanting to get your confidence in it and you're wanting to learn to throw it and get bit.
Well, I'm brand loyal, man. I have not had a problem with anything Buka brand. Those ABS trick shads are money.
Yep.
You don't need a big rod to throw them, as long as it goes up to an ounce, maybe an ounce and a half. I like to stretch it to an ounce and a half in case you gotta, oh damn, add lead wire to it
Right.
up on the front, like such.
Yep.
But this little guy, man, the 6 cent 6.5 draw, I have caught more fish on this little glide bait than I have any of them.
And
I
what
mean, I
color?
went out.
What color
This
is
is
that?
the Ghost Glide, but I've repainted it with nail polish. If you can see how
Okay.
crappy it looks,
Okay.
it's been eaten to death. And
I,
another thing, guys, if you don't want to get your baits repainted, a lot of these baits you can just touch up with nail polish from the dollar store. You're gonna look weird, but whatever. It beats buying a new bait sometimes.
I mean, nail polish. You can go to Hobby Lobby and buy different color Sharpies.
Oh yeah,
That I mean, you can, if you're wanting to touch up. I used to do. I've done that quite a bit with Sharpies on different things. Add
absolutely, man.
add red or black or whatever I want to add to it. But
Absolutely. Um, as far as budget friendly goes, both of those baits are under $40, I believe.
yep.
Um, this little flow glider is not bad, man. I mean, it's just a standard chop bait, and I think the hooks are a little aggressive on it. I put the stock hooks back on.
Yeah.
I swapped them out for some small. I actually took them off a jerk bait, but they're like tiny, and I put them on there. It just kind of gives it a tinier profile, and then I just add lead to both of those weights. It kind of gives me more range and maneuverability, I guess.
I got you. So you took the hooks off to give it a little bit better action. Not
Not to give
necessarily.
it action, but more to get through cover because this thing
Oh, okay.
it belly rolls because the tail's kind of stiff on it, like
Yep.
a pretty
I
stiff
got you.
tail versus. I mean,
Right.
you guys can see that. Um, they don't fish bad when you buy them stock, man. Mhm. You get hung
Just
up a
tinkering.
lot and people get nervous, and I'm a nerd, so I tinker with stuff, man. I don't mind playing with something. But that's the other thing too, is you don't want to buy a bait that you're not comfortable with either.
Right.
So if I'm not comfortable with it, and obviously I have a lot of test trial and run baits, I could tell you 1,000 baits that I hate and 5 baits that I love and give you every reason why, and then show you guys who catch double digits on those baits that I hate. It's just not me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
So
there's a
what would you,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, what would you say? Because what's that 6 cents draw 6.5? What does it cost new?
40
I want to
bucks?
say about $50,
40 or
45.
50, something like that. I can't remember, but
I want to say
these
when I was
things
at
are
Kingsy's.
awesome, man.
What,
You go
what?
up, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, what do you say to somebody? Because that's the when I got back into fishing, so when I got out of fishing originally, I didn't have the money to get back in it and fish the way I wanted to fish, meaning that I didn't want just one jig in the boat. I didn't want two jigs in the boat. I wanted a handful. Same thing for all my
Absolutely.
bait. You can ask my wife, who was in here a little bit ago. I don't know if she's behind or not on the conversation, but I don't buy one. I buy multiples. So I've got stacks of baits and stuff. So what do you say to somebody if they say, "Man, that's an expensive bait to be throwing out there"? Because I know that's a common discussion point because it is an expensive bait. But what do you say when somebody says that to you? It's like, man, I can't throw a $50 bait over there in that whatever I'm throwing it in, you know?
Well, after I set the hook, they usually don't ask any more questions.
They don't
I'll be
care no more,
honest
do they?
with you.
Yeah.
Dude, me and Mason Tucker went out one day. I don't know if Mason's still watching. Dude, I'm sorry, Mason, I have to share this story. He missed the biggest, I mean biggest spotted bass I've ever seen in my life, dude. This thing came out of the water and had one of these dudes across its mouth almost, dude.
Wow.
But she came out so hard and at that bait, dude, when he hit the hook set, it was just a little too soon, so the bait cartwheeled out. But
Mm,
after that, he was so mad, and I wasn't throwing a glide bait.
yeah.
I was just, I think I was dragging a shaky head. I can't remember. I turned around and picked up this clutch darter before I broke it, which if you guys want one of these, they're about $240 to let you know how heartbroken I am. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I touched it and it broke. So there was
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah, it wasn't like a bad cast, but I touched the boat coming back and it snapped the tail off. I was like,
Dang.
well, dang, oh well. But yeah, dude, I turned around and I think I caught 3 fish over 3 pounds that day. And he was
Yeah.
sold, man. After that, Mason was. I mean, I've been in the boat with him, dude, where it's been a whack fest and it's been a shit show, but
Right.
either way, because either way, dude, you learn something with glide baits, though. That's the key feature with these things, man. If I go out and get skunked, but I learn 2 or 3 things about the fish that day, I count
Right.
that as a win, man. It's because it's like I said earlier, everything counts. Everything has to be perfect. So
Right.
if you're not paying attention to what you did or how you caught that last fish and you move on and you're like, well, hell, they're chasing it, but they're not eating it. Could have been the presentation, could have been how you cast it over that log. Like everything has to be perfect.
Right.
So, I mean, as far as beginner glide baits go, I would definitely jump on this unless, um, or the ABS trick shed. I don't have one because I broke
Yeah,
it
I
in my
thought I had mine up here, but I don't have mine for some reason. It's not in either one of these boxes. I must have put it somewhere else in the boat.
My daughter has my other one, which has the hooks taken off of it now. So there's $40 gone.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah, if you guys have little kids, you're gonna lose your glide baits either in trees or to your children. Just a heads up. It'll steal your kid. Do you have that 6 inch trick shad? The other
It's
one,
on.
not the
It's on.
ABS?
It's
Oh,
tied on my
okay.
rod. I didn't. I wasn't gonna bring. I couldn't bring my rod up here where I'm at, but I could. But it would have been a. It would have been bad, and
I
it's still tied
respect
on the
that.
rod.
Um, I wish I had mine. All right, so we'll just talk about this one, man. Um, So the mini draw, I love this bait because you can chop it and wide glide it. Um, it doesn't have a great burn, but if you stick with the reel cadence and the rod twitch, you can kind of chop burn it pretty quick like a chab chad.
Yep.
Um, I can weight this thing down.
Right.
On both hooks. I don't have to on the rear per se usually. But the great thing about this, man, is these hooks have 360-degree rotating hook hangers
Okay.
versus this one does not.
Right.
Neither does the Trace, which this is a multi-jointed swim bait. This one's pretty cheap. I only throw these in the floating just for top water quick actions. My buddy John showed me that one year, and
Right.
it was a good time, man. Um, I'm a big fan of this bait, dude. This thing has sold me on so many fish and days where I knew a top water would play and it didn't. I knew a jig was going to catch me a fish and it didn't. I knew a shaky head would catch me a fish and it didn't. I knew a crankbait would catch, and it just, things stopped producing, man.
Right.
And that's what happens when you start overpounding these lakes and people start seeing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Dude, I started whipping this thing out on a whim because I was pissed off at work. I went home, got my boat, and left. My buddies up at Prodigy remember that day. No, I had it on the back of the truck already. I was already prepared. I was already pissed off and ready to leave. Dude, I went out and caught 25 fish after that
Yeah.
on a whim. Now, the biggest was only, I think he was like 5'8", 5'9" on the Guggen scale. But, dude, 25 fish, man, from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock. You can't beat that.
No, that's hard to want to put one down after that. I
Dude,
mean,
I'm telling you, man. And it was just every tree, every rock, everything. It's like God was like, here you go, man. I know you're having a bad day.
right. So Jim's got a question. It's a good question. How are glide baits in the fall, or is there a better time to throw it?
Dude, the fall. Okay. If you really truthfully want to get into glide bait fishing, save up your money now. Get you a good rod, get you 2 or 3 good baits, get you a good reel, and get you 2 spools of 20-pound P line. And in the fall, roughly around September, you guys are going to notice some of the biggest regular fish you're catching are tiny if you start throwing a glide bait.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, everybody says, yeah, I go out, I hammer them. It's 2 to 3 pounders. That's cool, man. That's great. I'm
Yeah.
glad you guys can catch 12 to 15, 1, 2, and 3 pounders, but I would rather personally catch something over 5 or 6
Oh yeah.
and be guaranteed on that, man. And then once you start catching one, you start catching two, start catching two, you start catching three. And it's all because you're just drawing your similar parallels on what's going on. But the best time of the year is fall. My favorite time is summer. And the only reason I say that is because I truthfully just, it's the hardest time to fish, man. I really enjoy the suck. I
Yeah.
embrace the suck as much as anybody, I guess. But dude, there's something about fooling a fish that just makes me so happy with these big baits.
There's two things I want to touch on right there that you brought up. That was very good points, and I think they might have got lost in the just in people hearing it. Number one is I had heard years ago, if you're fishing for small fish, you're gonna catch small fish. And I don't mean that negative to anybody because I'm guilty. I want to go out and catch. I want to go out and feel that bite, and I'll put down something and go. I could probably catch a bigger fish on that because I want to go throw a shaky head or whatever to catch me a couple of fish. And you know, if you're fishing for small fish, you're gonna catch small fish. Is that mentality? Well, you may catch a big fish here and there, but like you just said, that mental, whatever you want to call it, saying, okay, I'm fishing for. I know there's 1, 2, and 3 pounders there, but I'm fishing for the 4, 5s, and 6s or up, and all of a sudden, it's almost like you can't get away from them. I mean,
Exactly.
so I don't say this a lot because I don't want it to sound like a boastful thing, but the lake I fish on, that some folks know where it is, some folks don't, but the one I put a lot of content on, I don't fish it much this time of the year just because it is what it is. It's been a couple months ago. I went out and was throwing a shaky head and caught a couple of threes, and then it was 2, 2.5. That's the first time in forever that I have caught fish that are that small because I don't go out there. I don't go out there looking for the small. I don't drag a worm. I don't do Texas rig. I don't do nothing against it, but I know what's that lake. I know what the lake has, and I go out there searching the particular spots and the particular styles. I know the bigger ones will bite, and like I said, I didn't want it to sound boastful, but I'd go back to the boat ramp. Guys like, well, how'd you do any good? I said, I caught one. I go, oh yeah, I caught like 5. I said, yeah, my one was 5 pounds, and they're like, oh crap. Yeah, we caught like 20, but they were all dinks,
Exactly,
but
man.
it's getting that mindset of fishing for the big fish is kind of that. If you put the other group out of your mind, I'm not looking for those fish. Yeah, I know they're there, and if I wanted to go feel the tug on the line, but you got to get past it. That's where I got to get, is to go. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for those 1 and 2s. If I catch them, fine, but I'm looking for the bigger fish. And the other thing I wanted to touch on that you said was about embracing the suck. And I've said it on a TikTok video before: fish when other people don't want to.
Exactly, man. When it's raining, like, so 2 weeks ago, you remember where it rained for 3 days straight and it was
Yep.
like a tropic rainstorm? I
Yep.
was on the water, dude. My
Yep.
boat took on 8 inches of water. I beached the damn thing, jumped off, hid. As soon as the thunder and lightning stopped, I waited 10 minutes, got back on the boat. I was clear. It was still raining, but dude, I know Joe. I didn't catch anything big, but dude, whipping this thing around for just an hour, I caught 4 fish in a span of 50 yards.
Yeah.
And I mean, okay, so 50 yards doesn't sound like a long time or far or in an hour, but when you're fishing, so if I fish a sandbar, right, and it's
Yep.
40 feet out in the ditch and then it goes back up to another point, dude, if there are fish there, that is 100 casts that I'm gonna make if they're worth casting at.
Right.
But I'll scan everything, man. If I don't see something worth casting at, I'll tell the people in the boat if I got people with me, do you want to catch this fish or do you want to move on? Let's try to catch it. I won't cast. I'm not, because that's going to ruin it for them. You throw something like this or this right over their faces, dude, you're going to pull those fish off so fast for somebody dragging a worm or topwater, spinnerbait jig, whatever.
Right.
If you're conventional fishing and you're swim bait fishing, you need to pick one.
Yep. Yep.
You got to
Man,
pick one.
you said that when I told you that video I put out where I caught the fish on the TikTok glide and he come off, there was 2 fish sitting there.
Mhm.
After he came off, there was no longer 2 fish sitting there. That one came
No.
with you. They both moved. That was it. It was over. But like I said, I'd committed to throwing that right there, and that wasn't. I didn't even pick up nothing else to throw in there. I threw the glide bait back in there, thinking maybe they moved it a little, but it didn't work. But yeah, I mean, you're 100% right on that. You got to pick one, because once you throw the big one, you're getting their
It's game
attention.
over.
You're getting their
Yeah.
attention, and they're going to move, or they're going to change their mindset a little bit about what they're going to eat. You're 100% right about that. So this is one of the questions I wanted to ask, and it's, we're almost an hour in, but we talked about going till about 10, so I'm good with going however long. Because a lot of folks we hear, talking glide baits, and the one lake where I got my confidence on is a small. They call it a lake, but it's small. Um,
Mhm.
if somebody's going to a big lake, going to a Lanier or Wedowee or West Point or something like that, how are you attacking a big body of water when it comes to fishing a glide bait?
The same exact way. It's just a little bit more vast. So it takes a little bit more time. Um, and that's like I go to tell people, man, when I tell you I'm a nerd, like I study and I try to research as much as I can. And granted, there's only X amount of information out there and there's only X amount you can find any given day. But dude, I'm telling you, man, you got to put in the time. You got to study. Like, Jonah
Yep.
Ford,
Yep.
he's got my, I call it a swim bait Bible because I've got like 15 pages in it, dude, that has all my secret juice in it. And I just told him, I was like, screw it, you're going to Florida, take it, you'll catch a toad. But I
There
wish
you
I
go.
had it right now because then I could break it all down. Um, if you don't understand your body of water, I wouldn't buy a glide bait. I wouldn't buy a swim bait because you don't know what you're throwing and you don't know
Right.
why you're throwing it. Like 90% of people don't realize that herring move 1,000 miles an hour. Like
Hmm.
they are the fastest thing on the planet, dude. I swear to God.
It caught me off guard when my first trip to Lanier with a guide for fish for bass. And he was like, dude, you got to reel it. I can't reel it any faster. He goes, no, you got to reel it way faster than what you're reeling it. You're not. And then it was a minnow. It wasn't even nothing, like a glide bait. But he was like, as soon as those fish see it, if you're slow reel, they're losing interest that quick because they know it's not what they normally eat.
So the trick with, I guess, a lot of places, man, and people still is just, it's like we talk about knowing what you're chasing, but there's also a common, there's common fish everywhere. There's bluegill everywhere. There's crappie
Right.
everywhere. You could throw something that mimics a bluegill or a crappie. It ain't hard. And
Right.
the other downside to glide bait fishing is when everyone gets a follower, everybody freezes.
Yep.
When do bait fish ever put the brakes on, man? You don't
Yep.
ever see them. That's why they call them schooling, and you can see them because everything's getting blown to hell on the top of the water or
That's
on the
right.
bank.
That's right.
They're not.
And that's one thing I'll say with forward facing. People give forward facing a lot of crap, and I have it. You have it. I use it. You use it, and I can still fish without it if I want to. No big deal. But that's one thing it will teach you is, yeah, there's times where that fish is gonna nose down on something. It'll peck it off the bottom. Fine. I mean, I've had big ones catch, shaky heads. I mean, no, that happens. But you get a follower, and all of a sudden you stop it. You watch that fish turn around and leave
They
every
will,
time,
man.
almost every
Or
time.
or they'll sit there and just spite you,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
right
just
there
stare at
on
it.
it.
I mean, and with four facing, you can almost tell. Like I've got Lowrance, and I can watch that darn thing come right to it. I mean, I'm
Tough,
talking.
dude.
It's got to be touching one of the hooks. It's the dang close, and you're like, all it's got to do is just open your mouth and take it, And it it definitely. That's one of the things that I've heard people say about the followers, and you'd said it before, but I'd remembered it. So like I wouldn't even look down on the graph. Like I thought where I knew I was throwing, I wouldn't even look. I'm doing my real chop. I'm chop. I'm not even going to think about the fish hitting it. I just waited for the hit because I knew if I looked at it, I'm gonna be like, oh no, and I've lost interest in that fish altogether. So you're 100% right with that. Um, I had a guy ask me in my one of the it was a DM or something, maybe on TikTok, and he was talking about bank fishing. And that's the one thing I really thought was cool about Austin. One of his videos, he was out with a family in some lake somewhere. It was multiple lakes in this area, and he was fishing from the bank and catching with a glide bait from the bank. But this guy asked me, he asked a question. He goes, "Man, how do you break down big lakes for fishing from the bank?" He said, "I've walked hundreds of yards." He was out in Arkansas, Kansas, or Arkansas, or something like that. I can't remember which one it was, Grand Lake or something. Anyway, and he was asking me about breaking down that big body of water for bank fishing. I'm like, well, basically, you got to quit. And this is my guilty pleasure too. But you got to quit thinking that big lake is a big lake. You got to take it and break it down into sections, break it down to thirds to begin with, and then break those thirds down into thirds, and then so on and so forth, and get you an area where you fish at. And I think that's kind of what you're saying. You know, don't look at it as a big lake. You got to find top, middle, bottom of the lake, and then go from there and figure out, break it down even further where those big fish should be living at. And that's kind of what my takeaway with it for the glide bait part of it is anyway, is, yeah, I can go out to the main lake points and I might throw that glide bait, which is what happened at Wedowee, and I got followers with it, but it wasn't the right fish. It was the same style pound and a half, 2 pound fish that I'd been fishing for. I just wanted to see if they move on it, and they did. It wasn't where
Dude,
the big
I
ones was
get
living.
4-inch bass following a 9 or 10-inch glide bait, dude. That is
Yeah.
insane. Like those bastards are smaller than a tail.
Yeah, exactly. I mean yeah. I mean, so it's just one of those. You've got to throw it where the big fish are at. So you got to break your water down and start thinking of it like smaller lakes inside that big lake. And then, I mean, and there's big fish everywhere in those lakes. You just got to break down where in that, once you break it down and finally get into a spot, like West Point, I fished a couple of weeks ago and I went for the first time since I think Jim and I fished it. And I went to an area where he and I had fished, not quite to where we'd fished, but in the same area. And it was like, there should be bigger bass in this spot. Right? And sure enough, there was several bigger fish on that one spot, but not having any confidence in that lake, I just kind of looked at it like I normally would fish a smaller pond. I broke it down into small section and said, okay, this is what this looks like, what I should be, finding big fish on. It worked out pretty good. I wish I had thrown a glide bait through there first. I believe I would have caught the crap out of them the first 3 times they hit that top water, but ended up catching a few anyway. So, but yeah, that's a big thing for me because we get a lot of folks that watch the FNGO show or that I talk to. they're like, well, do that on a big lake. If you can do it on a big lake, then I'll have more confidence in it. And
I hate that, man. I
you
hate
know,
that when people say you fish a pond, you fish a lake. Like, who cares, man? Go catch your fish and be happy. I
Luke
hate that.
Fuller, Luke Fuller, I have fished martin several times. In fact, it's one of the only lakes that I've actually won money on.
Right on.
I actually won big fish on Lake Martin my first year in the club in the classic. I tied on a buzz bait and said, I'm not putting this buzz bait down until my arm falls off. It was an overcast day, perfect day for it. My guy in the back of the boat, he was throwing a little crankbait with a feather treble on there, and he caught the crap out of them. But I threw it into a spot. It was a broken off tree, and you could see the bottom. You could see the bottom of the root ball in the water. And I threw the buzz bait across there. It was a whopping 278 largemouth. And out of a 35 boat field, I won big fish.
That's insane, dude. I'll
Man, are you
take it.
kidding? Lake Martin, the land of the land of the dinks. I mean, you can catch some big ones in there too, but that was hilarious. We ended
That's
up
funny,
placing in the
man.
top. We were top 10. We got paid for top 10. We was in 6th place, and I had a 278 largemouth for the dang big fish of the tournament.
That's hey, man.
I laughed my tail off
That's
because
awesome.
I was behind the guy. He weighed in like a 2-3, and because I wasn't even going to wait for big fish, I'm just going to put my bag on the scale to move on. And he said, "Yep, that's big fish." And I went, "Oh, I got this." We sat on the bleachers waiting for hearing everybody weigh in. I was like, we might actually win big fish here, man. We did. So yeah,
Oh
Lake
yeah.
Martin. I like Martin. I think there's a lot of hidden. It's a big lake though. I think there's a lot of hidden stuff in there that people don't realize that you can catch a sack on Martin. You just got to know how to fish it. But I don't get to go down there as much as I like to. It's a pretty good haul. It's almost like going to Lanier for me. It's a
Oh,
couple
that's
hour
awesome.
drive. Couple-hour drive. But yeah, I mean the thing that for me, I fish a lot of big lakes. I don't get to go to a lot of smaller ponds. But if you go back to what you said a minute ago, hating when people say that, I caught my PBs to the two biggest fish I've caught have come off this lake here that I fish regularly, and I caught it may have been the first one, and it was my PB by like 2 pounds, and it was
Mhm.
right at 7. It was like a 614, and I put it on Facebook, and the guy's like, "Yeah, but you didn't catch it in a big lake." I'm like, I don't remember the record book. It's a public lake. It's a public body of water, so um
Yeah, I didn't. Whatever. Let's be
yeah,
rude.
my response back to him was congratulations, I fixed it for you. That was my exact. I said congratulations in quotations and put I fixed that for you. That was my exact response back to him because I don't care who you are. If you're reeling in you know, if it's your PB, it's your PB, no matter how you're reeling it. But
Exactly,
if you're reeling
man.
in 7, 8, 9, 10 pound fish, tell me you ain't. I don't care who you are. You're excited about it.
Absolutely, dude.
That's like saying if you go with a guide and you catch your PB, it don't count. That's bull crap. So
That's the purpose of a guide, man.
yeah,
Dude, that's like Jonah the other day, man. He came over, wanted to learn a couple things about glide baits. I hooked him up with I let him throw this down in the pond. Dude, that kid caught his PB in like 30 minutes in
that's
my
awesome.
pond.
That's
And if
awesome.
somebody dares to question him, 227 Mountain Lakeview Drive. What's up?
Right? Greg asked, "Do y'all fish any of the upstate South Carolina lakes?" I haven't. I've not fished any of the South Carolina water.
What upstate lakes? I don't fish South Carolina at all, unfortunately, man. I fish a lot of electric lakes.
Yeah, I haven't fished any of the South Carolina lakes myself. And that, like I said, I just got back into it, a few years ago. So I'm broadening my horizons. I'm trying to talk my wife. We're going to Orlando for ICAST, and I'm trying to talk her into letting me bring a rod. And she said, I drive a Ram with a short bed on it, which don't hold rods at all.
Huh,
And she's like, I am not riding in the front seat with a rod next to me the whole way for 8 hours down to Orlando. I'm like, come on, man. So I got to figure out a way to either get a 2-piece rod or something, figure out some way I may have to go get one of those rod boxes for the bed of the truck or something where it hang out the back. Or I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure
that's
something
not a
out.
terrible idea.
Mason said PB is a PB. Doesn't matter where or who you're with unless you fish the tank at Bass Pro. That's true. That's true. Yeah. I don't know, man. That's a pretty good
It counts at the
accomplishment if you
tank
catch them by
until
the
you
tank.
get caught.
Yeah, I mean, if you catch them out of the tank at Bass Pro and you get a chance to weigh it, that's pretty impressive. You could be
But
like the
yeah,
guy
man, if
over.
you make it that long,
You could be like that guy over in Leeds, Alabama, that jumped in there butt naked with his family sitting in the car outside.
what a hero.
Yeah, he was high on something, I guess, but he jumped in the dang Bass Pro tank. Jim said I fished Norman back in the '90s, didn't catch anything big, and I think Norman's come around a lot. It's got herring in it, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm a big fan of herring lakes, man, just because of how fast you can fish.
Yeah, I can tell
It's
you one thing, and I know everybody talks Lanier up on the FNGO show because that's where it's kind of in that area. But I'm gonna tell you something: if you have not got a chance to go to Lanier to fish, oh my word, the
yeah,
spotted
you guys are
bass.
missing out.
I mean, the spotted. I fished with Kevin Underwood, lipsticker fishing. I went up there on a guided trip. I wanted to catch some, some megalodons, they call it. And I have never watched fish do what they did. Freshwater fish do what those fish were doing on a popar. I caught it. It was like right at 4 pound spot, and I watched a fish bigger than that hitting that 4 pound spot, trying to knock him off of my bait. And then when I pulled it in the boat, that fish sat there, basically looked at us like, drop it back down in here one more time. He just stared at us and finally swam off. But it was a huge, I mean, it looked like it could have been a 6. It was a monster fish. And he was
That's
back
a
there.
lot.
Kevin was back there unhooking a 5 something largemouth that he'd caught off the same spot. And we were just back one after another in there catching them. So if you haven't got a chance to fish Lanier, I would love to go fish Lanier with a glide. I'm
Dude,
absolutely,
that's all I throw.
because I went in October, so I know about the time frame to go, and I'm 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 thinking I might have to be sick one day at work and drive to Lanier and throw a glide in those areas because I'm telling you, they were killing that top water. I mean, and you wasn't working it slow, so a glide would work perfect in there.
Dude, I'm telling you, like, even when I conventional fish Lanier,
Yeah.
if I got a fluke on, dude, it looks like a damn whopper plopper. That's how
Yeah. Oh
fast
yeah.
I'm working that thing,
Oh
dude.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And people fail to realize, like, fish are just two muscles, left and right side muscles, man. That's it. So what
Yeah.
do? Move. They're
Move.
gonna hammer that thing, dude. When they eat it, you gotta let them eat it because you're moving so fast. That's the only thing I think people misconstrue.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, go ahead.
Luke Fuller said he caught his PB on Lake Martin, 4 pound largemouth on a crankbait. I mean, yeah. I'm telling you, Martin's got them in there. Martin has got some fish in there.
Good
It's got
fish,
some good fish.
man.
It's got some good fish. That's awesome. I mean, and same principle. If you can, we're talking about parallels. A crankbait and a glide bait are identical, pretty much.
I've got a secret crankbait, glide bait, swim bait thing I want to show you.
Yep.
It's not a secret because it's released to the public.
Right.
But dude, I think this is like one of the most. This thing's wild. Sorry. It's a crank down, dude.
Oh wow, that is crazy looking.
That's Buka's live gizzard. I got it in dirty bone. Dude, I love this freaking bait.
That's
It
crazy.
go, standardly, it'll go down to about 14 feet, maybe 16. But dude, I figured out a way to get that thing down to 20 the other day. So now I'm gonna start playing with it tomorrow.
How are you getting it down to 20?
It's a secret.
Okay. Okay.
No, you just add lead wire to it.
Okay. I got you. That's what I kind of figured.
Yeah.
So, you brought that out because now you got me thinking. Because I like deep cranking. We talked about that on today on the noon show. I like deep
Dude,
cranking, so that's a perfect. What's the price point on the countdown? Do you remember?
the price point on that,
Yeah.
uh, close to 200, and it's big, man. Like you need. I have it on a 3 to 8 ounce rod. Like you
Okay.
need a big rod for
Gotta have
that
a bigger
bait.
rod. Well, that rod that I've got, I think it goes to 5 ounces, if I'm not mistaken. That Dobbins I got. I could be wrong. I need to go look. So I got it to be big enough that I could throw if I got up past a 2 ounce. I know that for a fact, but I can't remember if it's 5 or 4. But I mean, we're
If
talking about
it's 5,
crankbaits.
you should be good.
Yeah, we're talking about crankbaits. I mean, This is probably the first. This is the first. This not the first one I bought, but this is the first Buka that I bought. I
Is
mean,
that the wake or the crank down?
it's the crank down. It's the 4x4. So I
Okay.
mean, it's a crankbait. It's a square bill basically. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's not. I mean, it's no different than a square bill. So
So I love them both, man. This is the crank down, the 4x4. This is the wake bait, man.
yeah.
This wake bait, dude, is low key. Like, if it's muggy, like muggy, and there's fog on the water when I get there, I
Yeah.
will cut off my trick shad and put this on and start whipping this over cover, dude, because this thing's bulletproof. You can bounce it off of, I don't know if you guys can see that, but look at how just damaged the bill is from bouncing off of trees and stuff,
Oh
dude.
yeah.
Like, I've hung this thing up probably once,
Right.
like in a brush pile, cranking it over the top, and it just flips, dude. It's ow. That
I will
hurt.
say that's the one thing when you watch any of his videos on the 4x4 or that wake is they will come through some stuff.
Dude, I don't know how he figured that out, but kudos to them because nobody else has got that figured out yet.
Right. Yeah, they definitely come through some stuff because I've thrown this in some crap. Jim, that frog bite that we talked about, that 4x4 in those same areas. I didn't catch anything on it because I wasn't doing it in the right way, but that was why that was one of the reasons I had it tied on was because of
Um,
that.
and guys, one big thing to think about with these crank downs and any sort of swim bait with a lip on it, slow down your gear ratio. It's a freaking crankbait.
Yep.
Slow down your gear ratio. So like I throw mine all on a 6.8. It's uh a Curado 300 HG.
I
The
think I
only
had
reason
mine
I
on
was
6.4.
the only reason I got the 300 was just because I only bring one slower geared reel, and I like to have a lot of line just in case I'm constantly tying and cutting
Right.
off and all that other crap.
Right.
Um, man, that Curado 6.8 on the St. Croix Victory, extra heavy 710, dude. I am such a believer in that stick and setup when it comes to these crankdowns and soft swim baits. It's unreal.
Right. I mean, you said that's on the Victory.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that, dude. It is such a sweet stick.
Now, is it a heavy, medium heavy? What was it
It's
again?
a extra heavy fast.
Extra heavy fast. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, extra heavy.
Luke,
Dude,
I'm near like Wedowee and West Point.
okay.
You asking where I was at. I'm over near Wedowee and West Point area. Yes, I mean that's yeah, extra heavy. That's pretty stout rod. That's a pretty stout rod there.
Dude,
But
I'm telling you though, man, some of these baits are most of your rods that you start looking into that are over 5 ounces are extra heavy.
yeah,
Except for maybe like the DXSB. That one is a moderate heavy fast, and then they have a heavy fast and an extra heavy fast, I think. Is those three that I was talking about earlier.
yeah.
The
So I
hundred
think
dollar
that's
one.
where I get confused with the rod setups because I was expecting when I went and bought my first glide bait and rod, my first glide bait rod. When I bought the Dobbins, I was in there looking at the different ones, and it was the one I bought is actually a medium heavy, but to me it works perfect. I mean, it worked out really good. So it's actually a Dobbins swim bait rod, swim bait glide bait rod. So it actually worked out really good. But I think that's where my biggest confusion is coming in is what rod to pair some of these baits with because obviously I didn't have any zero knowledge going into it buying glide bait. So
The only time I really think about the rod mattering as far as parabolism parabolism goes, or however
yeah,
you want to say it, is when you really get into like a heavier bait. Like most of these little baits, um, I kind of I have one moderate heavy fast. It's a 7-Eleven Victory that I throw, or medium heavy, excuse me, my 7-inch trick on.
yeah,
But that's because there's so many times I find myself with that specific bait where I'm working it so much faster and more aggressive that it's just
Yeah.
I need that little bit more parabolism, so that way if they hit it and I go to jump the gun, it gives me just another half a second before it really puts it into them, you know, it gives them
Right.
a chance to eat it.
And Mason asked, he said he's fishing West Point in November, asked for any tips November. And Jim said, have a Fritz 5 shad color and don't put it down. Mason, Jim fishes there a lot. And it's, yeah, I was going to say it's called the Kentucky Blue, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken, Jim. It's the white Fritz side 5, flat sided with a little plastic bill in the front. And it's white with a blue back on there. And Mason, I'll tell you right now, he is not wrong. He wore me out from the front of the boat throwing that thing. I threw jerk baits in places. He come behind me with that Fritz side 5 and freaking caught a almost 6-pounder. Yeah,
Hey man,
he's not wrong on it. It was on fire. It was a little. I think ours was December, but it should still be on fire, even though being November with that same bait for sure. He's 100% right on that. I don't have enough time on West Point. That was the lake that kicked my butt for years, and then I finally went back this last couple of weeks and started catching the crap out of them. Then I go back this last Saturday and I caught one brim. So, but I was throwing. In my defense. In my defense, I went and bought about $135 worth of cast OG or not OGs cast prodigies and echoes. So my first bait that I threw out there at West Point on Saturday morning was the 7.2, and it was getting hit. It was getting hit. It just wouldn't get a bite. But and Captain Caveman just got the draw 9. I've only thrown the 6 or 7. Any advice? Well, that's the man
brother
to answer
man,
right there.
this bait right here, and I can't see the comments, it's frozen on mine, but dude, this bait right here is what got everything started for me, man. Look, just look at that, dude. This bait is so used and abused, and it just still looks so beautiful. This bait, man, and I, I don't even know where to begin, dude.
All right, so
Uh,
let's make it real easy. So he just got it, which means he's probably gonna want to throw it pretty soon. So let's say I don't know where he's at. I don't know where he's throwing
yeah,
it. Captain
what?
Caveman, tell us where you're at. May help us narrow down what lake you're fishing it on or what lake you plan to fish it on, and then we can break it down from there. But let's say he's going out tomorrow, and he's going. What's your advice going out? And let's just be general with it, obviously.
What weight glide bait is it too? Is it the slow sink or the fast sink? Because that makes a huge difference, I
Yeah.
feel, with the draw. If you get the slow sink, you can kind of work this bait choppy. You can work it moderate, or you can work it super slow. And I love the ability to just take this thing. This is my favorite. You can ask anybody that fishes with me.
So
Won't
he's got the slow. He's got the slow sink, and he's
deal.
Central Kentucky, Dale Hollow.
Dale Hollow, deal. You got a lot of smallmouth up there, so I would probably drop back down to the 6.5 if you don't feel confident throwing this after a while. But dude, all I do with this bait, I'll walk it, won't, won't. Just like that, man. Talk to yourself. When you cast, I don't care if people are laughing at you in the boat or not. Just won't, 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 won't. And when you see that follower, pick it up. Won't, won't, won't. And then try to hit it hard to where it 180'd on itself. And when you 180 on itself, they headshot it.
All right.
That's
So
that's my secret. Don't tell
so
nobody.
when you just said that, I want to expound on that a little bit because we talked about that when you were on the show the other night. And for me, I'm doing the real grinds, and I'm not really.
Nope.
I'm more mechanical with it because I don't know any better, right? It's a constant real grind. I'm not speeding. I'm grinding them. I'm making sure I'm stopping the top and the bottom. When you got that bait to turn around, walk us through. It's kind of hard to do, I guess, on camera,
No,
but
I know what you're talking about.
walk us through how we're getting that rhythm to get this motion and then getting that
Um,
180 stop at the end.
let me grab this reel. Okay.
All right.
Don't laugh at me. This is an ambassador. This is a gangster reel, okay?
And
You
you do
guys
what you
don't
got.
throw one, you're wrong. All right, so instead of cranking on it and hitting it, you want to roll it. You want all of that to be with you.
Yep.
So, like me, from my elbow, because I usually have the butt sitting somewhere down here,
Yep.
my elbow, my hand, the rod, reel, everything, dude, is all one fluid motion. I'm being so generous rolling the bait, dude. When you feel that slack and that line, roll it again.
Yep.
Roll it again. You don't want to let it sit and pause for too long. You don't want to over crank it, because when you start cranking it, dude, these baits are they're not designed to just haul ass and run through the water. They're meant to be specific. And that's where, like, I love people asking questions about new baits, because it's like, dude, we could go out and I could show you 1,000 ways to do it, but there's really one or two ways it's only going to work. So
Right.
you really just want to stay on the reel, not so much your tip. And then once they get on it to pick up your speed, once you start rolling with it, start barely moving the rod with it. So that way it's going to give it a little bit more of an aggressive wide glide, but it's
Okay.
also going to help you keep it moving faster. So that way it looks like the bait's fleeing. And then once they burn up to it, like, because when they burn up 6 inches, a foot away from that bait, I like to hit it one more time, give it a good one, and then I give it a one. And that's what I call the double clutch, dude. Wow, wow. And all of a sudden that bait does a 180. And when it does that 180, I'm already picking up my slack, and it's 50-50 if they're going to eat it. If they're going to
So
eat it, you'll know.
so you're hitting the real turn, but you're also pulling to the side a little bit.
When they're on it and they're chasing it, and I've
Yeah.
got this thing just womp, 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 wow.
Yeah.
I'll
That
hit it and
last.
try to make it 180 on itself, because how do bass eat fish?
Oh yeah,
Head
head
first.
first typically.
That's what they're waiting on, man. If you see that bass behind this bait, marking this thing and walking with it, that's all
Yep.
you got to do is put the head on them, dude. You put the head on them with that double clutch.
I think
It's
that's where I'm.
game.
I'm trying to make sure I understand that double clutch. So,
So
I'm.
you know
I'm.
when guys are live scoping on YouTube with big
Yep.
bait, and they see them start to pick it up, and then all of a sudden they'll go wow, and then they swing.
Yeah.
That's because they've rolled the bait onto the fish's head. So they've 180 that bait to come back around at that fish to where the fish has no choice but to eat or haul ass.
So with moving that rod at the same time you're doing that last reel, you're popping that you're uh, I guess a
And
heavy hard-handed reel,
it's a
and then
light twitch. Like, it looks like I'm moving, but
yeah.
I'm really not. My rod's still pointed at the fish. I'm usually going in a downward motion
I
in
got you.
reality, guys. That way everything's symmetrical. But you got
Like
to stay
practice.
on your reel, but you don't want to grind it. You do not want to grind it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So that's why just that 180, that's a huge
And there's a lot of baits that
yeah.
don't do it, man.
Yeah. That's a huge tip, because if you can get to 180 like you said, and you're saying that clutch, not clutch, the draw will do the 180 though.
Oh, dude, this bait taught me more about glide bait fish, and it's still teaching me about glide bait fishing, man, because it's the first bait I learned how to use.
Right.
B, when Ben and Casey and all those guys at Sixth Sense designed this thing, they designed this thing to be out of the package user friendly.
Right.
And that's a great way, I think, yeah, just to get going, man. The guy does it, he made it, produced with it, buy it.
Yep.
Why not?
That sounds like
So
winner to me. I mean, you're talking about. I mean, you did. I mean, that honestly, that 180 thing's got me really interested, because I'm in my mind that bait's only going to go as far as it's going to go. Getting it to turn completely around is,
you saw
yeah,
it.
that's what I'm saying. Getting it to turn completely around is totally did not what I was expecting. Not with something like that. I mean,
That's
'cause-
been my staple, dude, and then that's any glide bait that I throw. If I can't get it to 180 on its head, if I can't put the head to the tail, I don't want it.
hmm,
I mean, because how many people say, "Oh, I throw glide baits, but they don't work. They just follow it."
yeah,
But did you try to 180 the bait on them and just
yeah.
lie to the fish completely?
Man,
No.
we're gonna have to get together so I can film you doing a 180 technique right there, so we can get that on camera. Because I think I'm telling you, that piqued my interest so much, because I bet 90% of us, if we could get whatever bait we were throwing to turn back around the other way, we'd get bit on. I'm talking anything. I've how many times have I thrown a jig, man? I watch the fish nose it, and if I could get it to turn around and face it, it would probably wiped it out.
Exactly, dude.
That makes complete sense. I mean, that's one of those like aha epiphany moments, for
Dude,
me.
and it's so fast that they don't have a chance. They either have to eat it because they're so dialed into, "I wanna eat that fish," and especially, dude, I'm telling you, if they are head walking behind that bait and you're chopping to the right, they're going to the right, you're chopping to the left, they're going to the left, dude, pick it up, and
They're
then
tracking.
if they're tracking, they're eating.
Yeah.
You just gotta give them the ability to eat.
And we were talking about on the show today, the noon show, we're talking about deep cranking, and a guy asked, "Are you burning it? Are you slow cranking it?" And I burn my crankbaits, because I've watched them just blast off the bottom and wipe a bait out. And I'm talking a lot more spots than I am largemouth. What we were talking about this morning, but you know, again, how many times do you crank and watch a fish just run right behind it? Because all you can do with a crankbait, stop it. You can't. I mean, you can either reel it really fast or stop it. I'll if I see them shoot off the bottom, a lot of times I will stop it because they're gonna run into it because they're blasting. They're not just tracking, they're shooting toward like a missile. But with that, the ability to have that thing turn on its head and do that is what's amazing to me, because I never would have thought that would have been the possibility with that. Like that's huge.
I mean, you gotta think, man, every time somebody catches a big bass and it's got a gizzard shad in its throat or a bluegill or a crappie, you only
It
see the
ain't,
tail.
I was gonna say it ain't from the tail back. I mean, it's from the head back. It ain't from the tail forward. You're right. That
Always,
joker ain't
man.
in, that joker ain't in there with the tail first. That's for sure. That's 100% right. You are
They
not
ain't gonna eat it with them spines going in backwards. It ain't happening.
exactly. You ain't lying. That's a very good. Yeah, I need to see that. I need to see that in person because I want to get that on. Like, just get that. I think that'd make some good footage. We're gonna
I
have to get
wish I
together,
had a
man.
camera, dude, for Saturday when I caught that fish, because that's what I did, dude. I swear to God, I talked myself through it as soon as I seen her. Once I
Yeah.
cast and made my cast, she came up and I was like, all right, burn it, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Double clutch, get the net. It's game over, dude.
I love it, man. So I mean that,
So
yeah,
cool.
you gotta get a camera rolling, man, for stuff like that because you can't. I mean, you can't make that stuff up. I mean, and honestly, you just can't. Like I said, sitting here and trying to talk myself through it, I'm going double clutch. Okay, I understand, but it's almost like you got to see it to really understand that whole process with it. And I think because I'm when I tell you I'm literally sitting here looking at it in my mind, going, yeah, if I mean I could see that being super deadly, like one of those.
It's disgusting.
And what's funny about it is it wouldn't matter the size of the fish at that point either, because even a 2 pounder, you turn a bait around on its head, all it knows to do is eat it because it ain't got hands.
Exactly.
It ain't got hands. It's like, well, crap, I got to eat it now. I've been following this whole way. Now it's turned on me. It's either eat or be eaten. So, I mean, man, you got
And
me thinking about all kinds of stuff now.
it's
But
crazy, man.
that that makes a huge difference. Um,
You know
man,
what got me thinking about that though was everybody freaked out about that Krebs jerkbait, how it's supposed to go backwards.
yep,
I was like, man, if fish are eating this stupid backwards bait, I want to know why.
yep,
And then I thought about it and it was like, well, if you're burning a jerkbait fast as hell and then you pause it and it's going backwards towards the fish, they're going to eat it. How the hell can I make my glide baits go backwards? That video where Ben shaved the flow glider out.
yep,
I was like, huh, okay. So I started shaving out my draws a little bit more and a
yep,
little bit more and a little bit more. Finally, I started doing it. And then I figured out without having to tweak anything on the trick shad, any of my trick shads, dude, the sevens, the nines, the 11, all of them do it. All of them do it.
yep. Captain Caveman asking, what setup do you use for deep diving crank? I use a 710 medium heavy mod fast with a 5:1 reel. Do you do heavy? Do you do much heavy cranking at all, John? At all, or deep cranking rather?
If there's a bite and I know for a fact we're gonna go out and whack them, I do.
Yep.
But
I'm
9
listening. I
times
gotta
out of
plug in.
10, I'm just doing, strictly glide baits. or swim baits. And I haven't traditionally fished aggressively unless I take my son out because he's only 8, so he's learning into it. And it's hard to get an 8-year-old to sling some of these baits, nor do I want him to. It's expensive.
Sorry, I had to plug in a different way because it was my phone was going dead, even though it was plugged into my computer. It didn't like to charge that way. So
Good,
he's throwing a 710 medium heavy. Again, my boat, I only get a 7-foot rod in there, so I've made do with what I have, and I just work it. But I do a 7-foot medium heavy glass rod, and I use 12-pound line, and it's a 6 4-to-1. I'm cheap, man. It's the Black Max from Walmart because I studied a lot of what Johnny Schultz from Fish the Moment talks about. You know, we had him on the show not long ago, and I learned a lot of what I know about deep cranking from him. And again, the rod length is not ideal, but I can only, at some point, I gotta get as many rods as I can at rod locker, and having multiple, long rods on the deck of the boat's just not gonna work for me. But so yeah, that's what I do. And they're pretty good. I've only had one go bad so far. He said those reels are a gem. They're for the price, you can't beat it. And I told somebody on the show the other day, so you can go buy the reel. It's like, I think it's like $59 now, I think, for a
Yeah, I
Black
think they
Max.
just went up.
But you can buy a rod and reel combo at Walmart right now. It's got the Black Max reel on it, and I think it's a 6/8 rod, which is it's 6/8 medium, which is a perfect jerkbait rod for $77. So you get a rod and a reel for $77, and you can use the rod for a jerkbait rod if you're looking in the market. And then that's what I did. I come home and took the reel off, put it on what I needed it for, and the rod I can't remember if I think I used it for another jerkbait rod. As a matter of fact, I think I just lined it up with a different reel on there because I like using a faster reel for the jerkbait than I do that 6 4-to-1 or whatever it is. But yeah, there you can't beat those. And then when we were talking about the 4x4, that's what I had it on. I had it on a set. I didn't have a right rod at the time, but I had it on a Black Max reel. Because again, it was like you said, that big bill on there. I didn't want to be cranking against a 7/5 or 8-to-1 ratio reel with that 4x4. So I had 6 4-to-1 on it. But yeah, that's to me, that's about the best way to go. And I do a lot more deep cranking, but now I'm trying to get more into this part of the game. So I'm trying to figure out a different route with that. Because I do like to still play.
If you like deep cranking, dude, this burrito is money.
Really?
Yeah, and it's not heavy. It's only, I think it's 6 inches, and it might be, it's like an ounce and a half. Dude, I love this little guy, man.
Yeah.
He's a sneaky little dude, and they're cheap, man.
How much does it weigh? How much does it weigh?
I think it's an ounce and a half. I don't know. It says medium sink on it. So
Okay.
exactly. I'm pretty sure they're an ounce and a half. They might be 2 ounces. I could be wrong. But dude, this guy, if you really wanted to get like a true budget friendly swim bait, this right here, it comes with, I think this is a 5/0 hook. Dude, this bait, it doesn't matter what depth, what speed, this thing kicks ass.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, have you thrown the Hangover before?
No, I hadn't thrown the Hangover yet.
Guys, I'm not a big fan of the Hangover, and I love 6 Sense products, but that's just me personally. But this bait right here, oh my God, the hook's at the top so you can fish it through brush. I've never lost one actually, and I've never got it stuck. I just added the treble hooks yesterday, so we're gonna try that out tomorrow on Lake X. Um, I'm excited, man, but this bait right here is a freaking hammer. Like, I do not hate and or doubt this bait whatsoever. When I'm throwing it, I'm so confident because of just, I don't have to worry about it. I
Yep.
just run my reel, dude. I can hop it, I can pick it up and burn it and pause it, and then pick back up real quick, dude. It does whatever you want it to do.
Now, if you talk about deep cranking, how deep are you thinking you go with that?
With this,
Yeah.
as deep as I want, wherever the fish are.
So you can get, so 20, 25 foot wouldn't be a problem.
Mm-mm.
Okay. You got me
The only
thinking.
thing I do is when you let it sink, you have to give it line.
Yeah.
So you give it line that way when it comes down,
Nose down.
nose is down, and then it's boom, parallel to the bottom.
I got
And
you.
you can do whatever you want with it.
There you
It's
go. So we got a couple of questions real quick. If you were given the choice of only one setup, rod, reel, line combo, and all you were told is you are going to water with bass, what would you choose?
7-inch trick shad, 20-pound P-line floor clear, Abu Garcia reel on a 711 St. Croix, medium heavy, fast rod.
There you go.
That's what I'm throwing, guys.
We're
And I'm
talking,
weighting it.
and you're weighting it down.
Yeah, I give a little weight on the hooks. And by
Yep.
a little, I mean, depending on what size lead wire you guys use, I use 0.025 for most of my smaller stuff and really all my bigger stuff now because it's just easier to buy what they have in stock sometimes, usually
Yeah.
Tackle Warehouse. But I
I
go
gotta
the
get some.
length of the bait. So I'll peel out a stretch of this as long as my bait. Well, not this one. So as long as the bait, I cut it off, I wrap it around, I start from the top of the treble hook, and I
Yep.
work my way down and just when I wrap it around the bottom of one of the trebles at the end, that's how I lock it down. I'll put a
Okay.
tiny dot of super glue sometimes, maybe. I try to avoid it just because certain hooks will rust out, but
Yeah.
whatever.
There
I
you
can
go.
replace the hook.
Well, creek seeker fishing, if I was going to answer that question, not on big bait. Okay, so we're gonna go that way. I get asked a lot of guys ask me what's a good, budget rod, whatever, and I don't care if I get laughed at or not, but it is what it is. So a 7 foot medium heavy Daiwa Procaster combo from Academy, $100, and I promise you, I've landed my PB on it. Well, no, my second biggest fish on it, 7 pounder. That rod and reel got the CC80 on there. Those things are. If that's all I had, and then of course it's gonna have 15-pound fluorocarbon on it because I'm probably gonna have a jig or a shaky head or something, just for regular bass fish. It's not for the big bait stuff because I'm just now getting into this part. So if I was gonna glide bait, I'd take my glide bait rod, the only one I got, because that's the only one I know right now. So that Dobbins, I mean, but yeah, that's I get asked a lot by guys like, man, what's a good starter combo? And I throw that Procaster right there because I've had 4 at one time, and the only reason I had 4 and I've only got 2 now is for the same reason you're talking about earlier, is I break them, not the fish. I broke them doing something stupid, either dropping them and stepping on them, or I caught a fish at night one time and forgot the rod was between my legs, and I went to turn around and snapped the whole thing in two. So, but yeah, those are good rods if you're looking for something to go bass fishing with. They got a good action to them, but they got enough backbone as well. So just a good starter. It's a starter setup. It's not, I fished for several years with them, but and I've abused the heck out of them. But yeah. And then Captain Caveman, when we were talking about the burrito, he said he uses the coal shad. And Captain Caveman, you're not wrong. The coal shad's a great one. We talked about it earlier in the show. Um, yeah, I'll put a little belly weight in the bottom of them. The problem is without that belly weight in the bottom of them, you can't. They'll roll a lot more. Getting them down, they body roll a little bit much. And my biggest thing with like the crankbait part of it, I know crankbaits have treble hooks on the bottom as well. Is that, man, you take a chance on hanging up on something 25 foot down with that darn treble hook, and then you got to try to figure. I mean, I guess lure knockers and stuff work, but I those top hooks, I'm really that was kind of a, I hate to use the word game changer, but it made me a lot more comfortable with getting those bigger baits down there deeper with a top hook versus a bottom hook for me.
Okay, so look at this guy, dude. This is a freaking magnum trout.
Yep.
Like certain baits, I will harness a bottom hook on.
Yeah.
But anybody that fishes with me knows if I'm throwing a soft plastic, there's only one reason why, and it's because I'm putting it through the crap.
Yeah.
Like it is going through the mud, through the trees. I don't care, dude. And this one, I do have it belly hooked right now because I
Yep.
want to check it out and see how it swims in open water. But I tried to hide it
Right.
very, very well underneath the fins right here. But it just 9 times out of 10 for the belly hook thing, I guess it's just the time of the year. Me personally, like right now, you can get away with it going over the tops of brush piles and stuff, but you better be over the top.
Yeah. 100%, 100%. And then Jonah asked, he said, "Hey everybody," and then he asked, "What gear are you using for that burrito?" The one we were talking about just a minute ago. What setup?
Oh, 6 to 8, or I know a lot of people hate this, dude, but I freaking love these 6500 ambassador reels. It's a 5-1-1 because believe it or not, man, the dog days of summer, sometimes post spawn and fall, dude, I could get them on it and never figure out why they're eating it until I slowed down. Believe it or not, a lot of times when I slow down, like I'll run my trolling motor on one and damn near drag this thing on the bottom, dude.
Hmm.
Like it's almost annoyingly slow, like worm dragging slow, how slow there goes sometimes.
There we are
But
with that
dude,
parallel again.
you gotta give them what they want.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. There we are with that parallel. You can drag a worm, or you can drag a big piece of plastic like that. What do you think about Magnum bait stuff the other night?
Dude,
Last night.
I'm interested.
Well, I hope my wife's not watching. I bought. It wasn't bad. It probably was like $45 worth, but I bought a bag of like each one that I could get. You
Yeah,
know,
but $45 worth of worms is a lot of worms.
for the bad thing when they come in, the package is like freaking 11, 12 inches long too. But yeah, I
Oh
got
yeah, dude.
I can't remember the names of them now, but I got like each of the worms. I think I just stayed with worms. I didn't get anything else. And I got all mine in green pumpkin because that's what I
Oh
fish with
yeah.
out where I'm at. I didn't get any of the colors he talked about because I don't. The green pumpkins always work for me, so I
Dude,
stick with
I
it.
keep it simple, stupid, man. I
Yeah.
throw green pumpkin religiously.
Yeah, I got one. I got one in watermelon red because the green pumpkin was sold out, and I do know that watermelon red will work at the lakes I fish. It's so similar to green pumpkin anyway. But yeah,
Absolutely.
dude, I got those coming because I'm curious. Now I don't know. I also bought some of the. He sold the Hog Farmer Magnum shaky heads too though.
Yeah.
I'm not real certain about the wacky rigging a 12-inch worm yet. I have to.
You
I
ain't
don't
gonna
know.
catch me wacky rigging nothing, brother
I don't
man.
know that I can. I don't know that I can do it. I mean,
I'd
I don't know.
Carolina rig it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
like the jelly worms, dude. Like Paul Elias, man. Go catch you a
yeah.
130-pound bag.
Wouldn't hurt my feelings. And that's another thing. I got to get better. I got to tie a Carolina rig back on and start doing it more. I hadn't done it in probably 2 years. I just don't. I don't Carolina rig a whole lot. I mean, I
I
probably
don't
should.
either, but when I do, I just buy them, man. Because I don't
Yeah,
use them like that. So it's like if I can get the leader and a hook, that's
yeah.
fine. To
I
hell with buying all the pieces.
yeah. I
That's too
buy
much
the.
for
I
me.
think the last time I bought it was I bought a kit that had all the stuff in it. You just had to put the line. You had to provide the line. And my buddy, he builds a Carolina rig setup. I
Oh, does
use
he?
it. Yeah, it's just a little. It's just all the pieces all in one. All you have to do is tie your line on one end, tie your leader on the other, and hook, and you're done. So it
Right
works.
on.
It works pretty good. I hadn't, but I don't know if I've even got any of those left or not. But um, they were cool to you. Like I said, I hadn't done it in forever. I just don't. I've started slowing down more this year. That's one thing I have noticed because I started realizing as much fun as I have tournament fishing, that was the other question I was going to have for you. We'll get to that in a second. As much fun as I have tournament fishing, I like catching fish more and figuring them out. And to me, I just didn't have time to figure out a tournament to do the bigger baits and stuff like that. So that was going to be one of my questions, and we'll probably make this one of the last ones of the night. It's already 10:30.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I know that people talk about glide baits and tournament fishermen. Can tournament fishermen fish glide baits effectively? Do you think?
100%. 100,000%.
Really?
Look at Brandon Polnick
Yep.
on the Clutch Boss. That dude, what did he bring himself into first place at the beginning of the year? Won one tournament.
Yep.
What else? Oh, I'm trying to think. Dude, but he had like 3 tournaments back to back where 2 out of his 5 fish were glide bait fish, and they were massive. Like
Right.
over 7 pounds, I'm pretty sure. He caught an 8 and a 9, or a 9 and an 8, whichever.
And
But dude,
that was kind of my point. You know, we talk about not they're not necessarily tournament techniques, but at the same time, they can be.
I
They
mean,
can.
I'm not telling everybody that you can go out and throw a 9-inch bait and catch 10 fish. Like, good luck, dude. That's a feat. Catching 10 fish on something this big is a feat. Certain
Right.
people can do it. I'm not that good yet, but I will be, I promise. But you don't have to go big bait. This is only 6 inches, man.
Yeah.
Like, how many? Let me grab these worms, dude.
I mean, your trick worms are 6-inch worms,
Exactly. Yeah, they're 7 inch worms, man.
six,
Seven,
7-inch
six,
worms.
seven
Yeah.
inch worms. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Your
Like,
Senkos are 4 5s. Yeah.
they are eating the same thing that you're overthinking about.
Yep.
Why not just give them what they eat?
Yep.
I
I
mean,
just
they're on a bluegill pattern. What do I do? Put on a bluegill colored glide bait. Put on a bluegill colored whatever.
right.
I don't know what to tell you. They're on a herring bite. Well, if it doesn't have blue in it and it's not moving fast, you're probably wrong.
Yep.
Like, it's the same parallels, man. Everybody just kind of over exaggerates it or overthinks it, I think.
I think. Yeah, I think that's 100% right. I mean, I can see where it would be. I mean, to me, it's no different than throwing. I like a cane walker top water. I throw the 125. I throw the big one.
Dude, that's a big one.
I don't throw the small one. I mean, I do throw the small one, but that big one's what stays tight on most of the time. That's a 6'5", 6" bait. Big
That's
piece
a
of
six
plastic.
and a half inch spook, dude.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I
People
mean,
throw the hell out. Lee Livesey won fork on this thing.
yeah.
I mean, look, it's bigger than my glide bait.
Yeah, exactly right.
And I caught an 8 pounder on this thing. What are people trying to say, man? Like, it's a that's why my name's Big Bait John, not Big Swim Bait, Big Glide Bait. Like,
Big
dude,
bait generally.
you just literally have to upsize. I'm not a big believer in finesse because I'm
Right.
not looking for that to catch 5 fish anymore, man. Because when I tournament fished, it was fun, and I don't hate tournament fishing whatsoever.
No.
But dude, it's like this is like trophy deer hunting for me, man.
Yeah. There's something about figuring them big fish out. As much
There
fun as
is.
it is trophy or to tournament fish, and I do enjoy it, despite what some videos I put out may say otherwise. I do enjoy tournament fishing, but I also found that I was not having the fun in tournament fishing because it's a constant pressure to catch five. And I know that I can go to a lake and figure out how to catch five bigger fish. And I know that's the whole point of the tournament too, but for me, it just wasn't happening that way. I can go out there and fun fish and go, let me go figure this out for a day or two and enjoy the crap out of it versus going out there trying to put five together for 12, 13 pounds and hoping for the best. And it just wasn't happening. But that's all part of it too. I mean, yeah, I'm 100% with you. I
My
can't
biggest
imagine going out in a tournament just yet and throwing a glide bait and going, all right, this is what we're going to do today. I can't imagine it just yet, but I can see it happening. I can see
dude,
it happening.
I'm talking to one of my buddies, I guess. His name's Dave. He's a cool guy. We just met the other day at the boat ramp because of the podcast, actually.
Yeah.
He he's a big swim bait nut too. And I was talking to him, I was like, dude, let's fish in opens and just screw with people and just only throw swim baits. And he goes, dude, I've never even fished a tournament. I was like, come on, man, just not a big deal. What are we gonna do? Lose? Like, we're
Yeah.
just going fishing.
Yeah.
Who cares, man? Just
Yeah.
go fishing. That's 90% of it is just you are going fishing. You are
That's
just being appropriate.
Well, that's what's funny because I'm not. So I got out of the club that I was in this year. You know, we fished our last tournament. Me and Jim did back in March, I think it was, and literally. Now we had a terrible year this last year. Whatever reason, it just didn't work out the best. I go fishing like the first time by myself. The next time, and I catch like 13 or 14 pounds by myself in 4 hours. Not even a tournament day. 4 hours on like the same lake. And my wife's like, "What's the difference?" I say, "Hell, I don't know." She goes, "You were having fun. You were having fun. You were just fishing.
Always.
You were just fishing. That's all you were doing was you were fishing. There wasn't a weigh in time. You didn't have to figure it out with somebody else in the boat trying to make sure they caught fish too, blah, blah, blah." She goes, "You just went out there and fished and ended up like 13 or 14 pounds in the boat." And I was like, "This is stupid." Uh-oh, there we go. Um, she was like, "This is," and then I did it for like 2 weeks in a row, caught nice fish, right? So I decided to get in the tournament. It's the spring tournament. I'm like, okay, boom, I land on them again. I've got maybe 10. pounds in the boat by half a day. I go to cycle back through my spots again, open up the live well, 2 of them are dead. Live well pump went out. I didn't know it. So she was like, see, she said, you were tournament fishing. If you'd have went out there fun fish, you'd have had 14, 15 pounds and it would have been fun. You would have had fish would have lived. I'm like, yeah, I know. So
Exactly, man.
Greg, I have never fished for walleye. John, you ever fished for walleye before?
Not by choice, but we've pulled into them before.
Really?
Yeah. You wouldn't believe how we caught them.
How?
A fluke.
A fluke.
Dude,
Really?
we were burning away. It was fluke, dude. That was it.
Huh. Yeah, I've never caught one. Never caught one, never attempted to catch one. I guess my weirdest, we went fishing. My first ever guide trip on Lanier was for striper, and the only fish that I really caught that day was a damn 5-something largemouth out of 55 foot of water.
Dude, that's deep for a largemouth.
Dude, he was sitting there. Apparently, the spot, because when I went back with Kevin, it's a well-known spot for schooling, like large mega schools. And he was down there like, yeah, drop that. And of course, it was live bait. Dropped it down there, 55 foot. Boom. I reeled it up. Think we got a stripe. No, it was largemouth. We ended up eating that largemouth. He didn't make it. 55 foot deep with a largemouth. He didn't make it.
Oh, he ain't making it at all, dude.
No, they didn't get him back in the water fast enough. They tried to put him in a bait tank to rehabilitate him, and he didn't. It was weird because our guide didn't know how to fizz. That was what was really weird. I was like,
I don't know how to do it either, but
I didn't know back then. I do now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
need to learn how to do that.
Man, it's so easy. It's not even funny. It's really not. Now I fizz through the side. I don't fizz down the throat.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
man, we're down, Greg. We're down here in Georgia. We're down here in Georgia. I'm more middle Georgia, and John's more North Georgia.
Sir.
But yeah, I work on the Fish North Georgia podcast, and John was on there last Thursday, and he and I are teaming up to do some weekly podcasts to do to try to talk big baits for big fish. And hopefully, I really want when I go to Florida this next month, I really want to go down there after a peacock bass.
Oh, dude.
I think it'd be really cool to catch one on a glide bait.
So their mouths are small.
Yeah.
But, they're mean. Like mean.
Oh, yeah. They'll straighten some hooks out.
Dude. Ooh, okay, so the only thing with the glide bait, be careful, because a lot of your stuff will rust out.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. That's true.
That's true. Mistake once upon a time.
Yeah, because you got more internals on a glide bait. You got more rods and stuff like that. Once it gets that stuff in there, you ain't getting it back out.
Yeah, it's
Hey, I've got some stuff though. Honest to goodness, so a company from Australia contacted me and asked me to do a video, and so I did it. It's on my YouTube channel. It's called Salty Captain, and one of the things they have in there. Have a good one, Greg. Thanks, man. Thanks for stopping by. One of the things they have in there is a boat, an engine flush. So it basically counteracts the salt. So if you ever do that, I've got some stuff. You can probably just dip it in there. It's all pH neutral stuff. So it's not like it's going to be bad or anything. You probably dip it in there and let it sit for a minute and then pull it out and hose it off. Probably make sure all that salt doesn't do anything to your baits and stuff.
That's a pretty good idea, dude.
Worth a shot.
Absolutely, man.
The stuff's called Salty Captain. Is who makes it, but it's they got a whole kit for. Because when they asked me to do the video, and I was like, well, I don't live near saltwater. That we don't care. We just if you got a dirty boat, I was like, well, I got a dirty boat. We'll make sure it's dirty for the for the video, and yeah, it worked out pretty good. Man, it's been we're like 2 minutes short of 2 hours. So I want to do 2 hours. I know it's a little bit later than what we wanted to with all our stuff that happened. But
I get it, man.
We've had a decent crowd in here for me not having many followers on YouTube, and I'm sure a lot of it was your buddies and stuff that came in. I'm glad we got the crew over here. I think we might try to take it to the next level with YouTube.
Let's just do it.
Figure out here how to do it here, and we can do some. You and I will talk and get together and do some on the water stuff because I'd love to get some footage and film some catches and maybe even get on some fish myself. I think it's really good stuff. Especially I'm telling you, that 180 thing. That 180 thing's got me thinking big time.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. I'll take you out. I'll show you how I do it, and then I'll just run the boat and let you fish. Because when I put people in the boat with me, dude, I don't cast until they catch a fish. Because I ain't gonna catch one until they catch one, anyways. That's just
Right.
how it goes.
Well, I appreciate it, man. All right, man. I'll let you get out of here. I know it's done got late on us, so I apologize for being that late, but we got 2 good hours in, and you and I will discuss what we're gonna do next week because we got to figure out because I felt like we talked about a bunch tonight. I don't know what else there is to talk about. We got some. We're gonna keep going with it. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it happen because I want to get you blown up. And anybody in the comments, if you're still there, I know there's only a couple people there. Uh, I think I can re-upload this video. But anyway, Big Bait John on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and
Thanks,
Facebook.
man.
And I'll be putting out some stuff tomorrow too. Make sure we get some more shout outs going on.
I
All right, man.
appreciate you, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, dude. You don't realize how much information and it's really good having somebody like you to talk to through this stuff is. And I know John Aldred, I can talk to him too, but
Dude, John's a
have,
hammer.
having the guys like you and John, 2 Johns, because man, I was lost. Like some of this stuff is way more than I would have ever. I probably never would have bitten it off had I not talked to John at the shop one night because I'm like, I don't know what to buy. It's like, I mean, you're talking making a major investment, a couple $100, $300 investment to buy baits, rods, reels to do this. So I appreciate the heck out of y'all. You just don't know how much, and
It is, man.
I'm actually getting a little more out of this than y'all probably think I am. So,
Dude, once Jonah gives me my book back, I'll let you borrow that.
all right.
It's
Well,
got everything written down, whatever you could think of. It's
yeah,
there.
I'm a book nerd, man. I've got 3 books in the driver's seat of my truck right now that I read when I'm not doing stuff. So I'm a big book nerd when it comes to reading stuff.
You should get it's a DVD still, but they might have the audio book. It's called Southern Trout Eaters.
Okay,
Best swim bait video DVD ever. I've
really?
watched it probably 5 times, dude. It's all the guys from North Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, I think Virginia's too, all throwing big swim baits in the early 2000s.
Wow. I'll
Like
check
all
it
the
out.
OGs. It's
I'll check it
awesome,
out.
dude.
I'll
If
check it
not,
out
I'll
because
let you borrow it.
yeah, I'll check it out. I'll see if I can find it. Somebody may have it on YouTube. I'll check
Oh,
it
they
out.
might, yeah.
I'll check it out. See if I can find it. Well, man, have a good evening. We're gonna call it a night. It's time to go to
All
bed.
right, buddy.
See you, buddy. Have a
Night,
good one.
man.
I'll talk to you
You
tomorrow.
too.
All right, bye.